Well, presidential candidate Herman Cain rising to the #1 spot in a brand new poll. Take a look at this from NBC News and the Wall Street Journal. They've got Herman Cain at 27% among the GOP primary voters. Mitt Romney at 23%. Rick Perry in third at 16%, and it goes on down from there. But with front-runner status comes plenty of heat, of course, from his competitors. Herman Cain is taking those attacks in stride.
We have an economic crisis. This economy is on life support. This is why I have proposed my 999 plan. It attracted a lot of attention at the debates last night. You know you must be doing something right when you get a lot of arrows in your back. But this is the first time that arrows have felt really, really good.
He knows how to work the crowd. Christopher Hahn joins me now, former aide Chuck Schumer, and Gretchen Hamel is a former spokeswoman for the House Republican Conference and the executive director at Public Notice. Welcome to both of you. Interesting. You know, I mean, Herman Cain was the first person to get into this race on the GOP side, and it was, you know, greeted with sort of barely a notice, and now he's up at the top. Gretchen, what do you make of it?
Well, you know, everyone keeps looking for a Romney alternative. You have the Republican base that just isn't satisfied. First it was Bachmann, then it was Perry, then they wanted it to be Chris Christie, and now it's Herman Cain.
You know, let's take a look at a quote that goes right to that point. This is from Dan Henninger at the Wall Street Journal, and I thought it was very interesting. He says the enthusiasm flowing to Mr. Christie came from the same people who had hoped to see Congressman Paul Ryan in the race. And he goes on to say Mitch Daniels, Jeb Bush, all of them made clear that they understood that we had arrived at a big moment for the nation. Mr. Romney, by contrast, leaves the impression that the country has arrived at his big moment. Chris Hahn, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like she said, 77% of Republicans consistently say they don't want Mitt Romney. Cain has risen to the polls because, let's face it, he's the only one on that stage who has any personality. It's very sunny and uplifting in his ways. Now, I think his 999 plan is a path to disaster for this country, and now that he's at the top of the polls, I think you'll start to see people focusing on what he's actually trying to do in his plan. But let's face it, this guy has made a living, you know, selling things in this country and done a very good job at it. So he's got a nice, simple plan that people can listen to and understand, and that's what's helping him.
And he's definitely connecting with folks out there, and that's why we're seeing these numbers for him. But the big question for him, and if you're in the Cain camp at this moment, you're saying, we don't want to be the next Rick Perry, you know, we don't want to be the next Tim Pawlenty, we don't want to be the next person who sort of was the Tea Party favorite of the moment who falls off the map. So, Gretchen, how do they prevent that from happening?
Well, he's got to be able to have questions. He has to be able to answer the questions about his past, about who's supporting him, about his advisors, and he's going to have to take some scrutiny on this 999 plan and be able to shore up support for it.
Yeah, what's up with that? You know, he's asked about his economic advisors. He danced around it. He named one person, and he said the others are basically, they're secret.
Yeah, you know, listen, this is a guy who's used to running a corporation where he was the boss, and he could talk to whoever he wanted to talk to. Now he's going to be under the glare of the national spotlight. Now, I like Herman Cain personally. I think he's a very interesting character on the political scene, but he is surely the flavor of the week. You know, I like black walnut, but most Americans are going to choose between chocolate and vanilla every day.
That black walnut ice cream is a reference to something Herman Cain said about himself. And he said, you know, that flavor tastes good all the time because he's very much aware
it sure does.
that this is the way he's being portrayed as sort of the flavor of the week. Gretchen, you know, what's your best bet? Does he hang in there? Or does Mitt Romney start to move beyond the 23% mark, which is the big question for him because he hasn't been able to do that yet?
You know, it's all in Herman Cain's hands. If he can answer those questions, if he can give the answers that the public wants to hear right now and that straight talk that he's been doing, I think he has some sustainability. But we're a long ways from these primaries. And just remember back in 2007, at this time, Hillary was leading.
You know,
and then you look back, McCain won New Hampshire, and that changed everything.
That's very true. But you know, he's got to be able to answer the tough questions on foreign policy, which really have not, you know, we haven't seen him respond to those particularly well in recent debates, but that's got to be what they're working on, Chris, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, as much as I hate to say this because I really don't like Newt Gingrich, I think there might be a window for him to climb into the top-tier candidates now, because I do not think Herman Cain can answer these tough questions. He's great at sloganeering, he's great at putting things out there, and he's very optimistic and likable, but he will not sustain this momentum for long.
Well, Newt Gingrich, and he's certainly rising, sort of like the little engine that could.
Yeah, he
in those
reminds
numbers,
me of
so
McCain.
you're right. That's going to be something really interesting to watch as we go forward. Thank you so much, Chris Hahn, Gretchen Hamel. Good to see you guys as
Thanks
always.
for having us.
Have a good one.
Poll out does Gingrich now climbing into double digits, so we'll see whether or not that sticks or goes higher.
We will.
All right, Jenna Lee standing by. Coming up now.